you for always teaching us.
For class number 12, but it's a two-way thing. I learn as much as you learn. Okay, so before I start the class, I want to talk to you about yesterday. Was a special date in Chabad history. The Hey Tevet. Hey Tevet, the 5th of Tevet. What happened? Let me tell you the story. In December 1985, a year before I was born, they realized they have a special library in 770 of all the books of all the Rebbes dating back to the Baal Shem Tov. So really maybe even older books, because it's the books of all the Rebbes who they took books from their ancestors. So it's books that were of high value because they were, over 100 years old. They're precious. They're antique. Yeah. And they realized that books were missing. So they put in videos. And what did they find out? They found out that the grandson of the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, not the last Lubavitcher Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, who was not really religious, was stealing. Well, he didn't think he was stealing them, but was stealing them. So right away they put a video. They put video cameras to see who's taking the books.
Quoi? Avant le Rebbe, ils avaient déjà le truc des caméras?
C'était durant le Rebbe, in 1985.
C'est pas ce Rebbe-là.
No, they said they saw the grandson of the previous Rebbe.
Okay. Ils l'ont grillé.
C'est-à-dire la cousine de la Rebbetzin.
Wow.
And so they brought him to court to Din Torah.
Really?
But he didn't want to come to Din Torah. When they saw that he didn't come in Din Torah, they took this really seriously. And they brought him to court.
Wow.
And the court had to understand. It was a Jewish person. Why? Because he claimed it's his grandfather's books and he can take them. What was he doing? He was making money. He was selling them to people for a really high price because they're books of value. And he said, it's my grandfather's books. So what was the court case? To show him that this is not private property. You're not taking books of your grandfather. You're taking something that belongs to the public,
the community.
So the court had to understand what is a Rebbe, what are the Hasidim, what is 770, and they studied that. And right before winning, they interviewed the Rebbetzin, the wife of the Rebbe, who was the daughter of the previous Rebbe, and she said, "What is a Rebbe for you? What was your father?" And she said, "My father, and I believe the books too, belonged to the Hasidim." And that was a statement that, like, she said, my father, who's the Rebbe, and the Sfarim and the books belong to the Hasidim.
Okay.
And with that, they were like, wow, that is very powerful. And this is what was one of the lines that made them win. And they won.
Ils l'auraient cru, j'ai pas compris.
C'est quoi qu'il aurait cru?
Ils lui ont demandé c'est qui ton père, elle leur a dit les livres ils appartiennent.
Non, elle a dit pour toi c'est quoi ton père?
Alors?
Elle a dit mon père, il belongs to the Hasidim. C'est un rabbi and he belongs to the Hasidim. They wanted to understand what is a Rebbe. So she said, for me, a Rebbe he doesn't belong to me. He belongs to the Hasidim. So too his books and all his library belong to the Hasidim, and it's public property. And with that, they won the court case. And he was not allowed to touch those books. And it was a big, big celebration because everything that happens
publicly
in this world, something up there happens. So this day is when we celebrate that the Rebbe and all his books and all the books that are written from the Rebbe, the Tanya, the Shaar, Habitachon, all these books, they're for us. They belong to us, and the Rebbe belongs to us for the Hasidim. It's a very, very powerful day, and we even have the custom to buy new books. Okay. So if anybody wants to buy a specific book, I might be going to New York soon. You let me know, and I can get you the book.
Nice.
So this is Hey Tevis. This is the day of Hey Tevis. Now, we are going to learn these books that belong to us, that are our heritage, that are here with a lesson, an eternal lesson that never changes. It was written over 2,000 years ago. No, This book was written maybe around 1,000 years ago, and it doesn't change. It's the same message that the Rabbeinu Bachaya wrote 1,000 years ago is still applicable today, and even more so today. So for those who have the book, you can look inside page 29. I'm just going to put you guys on mute if you don't mind. Okay. So mehen menuchat halev min hadagot ha'olamiyot ve'ashalva min nud hanefesh ve'tzara lechezchon tavotea hagufim. Among them is the peace of mind from the worries of the worlds. So this is the benefits of bitachon in worldly matters are as follows. Yeah, you can take it. So what are the benefits of bitachon? So they bring peace. They translated peace of mind, but actually when you read it in Hebrew, it says menuchat halev, which is peace of the heart, because stress and worry are in the heart. It's not when someone's worried about something or stressed out, usually it's more an emotion than something that's cerebral. So bitachon, trusting, calms the heart, calms the stress and the worry that you have in the heart. So peace of the
J'avais déjà dit la semaine dernière stress free, peace of mind, and now it's
peace of heart. Yes. והוא בהשקט ובבטחה ובשלווה בעולם הזה, כמו שכתוב ברוך הגבר אשר יפתח בהשם והיה השם מבטחו, ואמר והיה כעץ שסול על מים ועל יובל ישלח שרשיו. But a person who has bitachon is at rest, feels secure, and is at peace in this world. As it is written, blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord shall be his trust. So someone who trusts, God will do everything for him. And as the following verse says, for he shall be like a tree planted by the water, and by a rivulet spread its roots. So a tree who's by the water, it has everything, it doesn't need anything. Someone, when you're sitting, near a tree by the water, it's the most peaceful scenery. Why? Because without knowing, subconsciously, this tree has all its nourishment, is very peaceful, and that creates a very peaceful environment. So too, that's what bitachon will create for us. A very peaceful human being who is not fear of lacking of anything. It's like he's by the water, provided all the nourishment that he needs. Now, the Rabbeinu Bachaya goes on to say something interesting. That's a bit contradicting to what other places say, but we're going to look inside to understand exactly what he means. Another advantage of bitachon, as it affects a person in his material pursuits, ומהן מנוחת הנפש מלכת בדרכים הרחוקים אשר היא מחלה הגופת וממהרת השלמת ימי החיים. Among the worldly benefits is that having bitachon creates in the person the peace of mind that comes from not needing to travel long distances. Such travel can destroy people's body and hasten death due to the excessive motion and change of climate involvement. So over here he says that a person who has bitachon does not need to travel. He doesn't need to leave his place and look for a job or for money elsewhere, because he's provided. Hashem will provide him in the place he needs. And he brings a quote that says, he has afflicted my strength on the way, he has shortened my days. Just a quote that proves that when you travel, it tires you out. And then he brings in a story, because there's many questions on this. A lot of people travel to work. Yeah. The Gemara says that, the Talmud says that a person who doesn't find substance in one city has to travel to another city. So how could the Rabbeinu Bachaya say that bitachon brings you to not travel, because traveling will make you sick and will shorten your days? So he brings a story to explain us exactly what he means, and it's a very interesting story. ונאמר על אחד מן הפרושים, do you mind that I read the Hebrew?
Pas du tout.
Okay. על אחד מן הפרושים, כי הלך אל ארץ רחוקה לבקש הטרף בתחילת פרישות, ופגע אדם אחד מעובדי כוכבים בעיר אשר הלך עליה. So he talks about a person who's an ascetic. Ascetic, I think I'm pronouncing it well, is someone who's very careful with halacha, but even more than he has to do. He'll keep things like more than he has to do, so it won't lead him to sin. So it's someone who's extra careful, not like the person he's really pious, he's really careful. So this person, he went to a faraway land to seek his sustenance during the beginning of his asceticism. So it's very interesting. He says he was just in the beginning of his journey of being
Ascète.
comment on dit?
Un ascète. En français,
Ah oui,
c'est un ascète, mais je sais pas en anglais,
ascetic.
En anglais, je sais pas.
It's in Hebrew, it's parush, prishut.
Okay.
Cheryl, do you know the word ascetic?
Tu l'as mis sur mute.
No, but she can unmute herself.
Aesthetic. I thought it was appearances.
No, not aesthetic. Ascetic.
En français, c'est un ascète, Marie, si tu connais.
I have to look it up. I can't.
Okay, it's okay. So I guess you didn't hear. I never heard about that term, so I had to Google it, and it was talking about other religions, but really it comes from the it comes from the Torah, where it's someone who's really careful in halacha, who will keep halacha stronger. Like for example, he's allowed to eat kosher, but he won't indulge in food, so it won't lead him to doing other avirot. So this man was at the beginning of being ascetic. He was just starting off, and he went to a faraway land to look for work. There, during his travel, he met a star worshiper in a city where he had arrived. A star worshiper is an idol worshiper who would worship the different mazalot, the different stars, and the energies that it gives. Amar lo הפרוש, כמה אתם בתכלית העיוורון ומיעוט ההבנה בעבודתכם לכוכבים? אמר לו העם גושי, ומה אתה עובד? אמר לו הפרוש, אני עובד הבורא היכול המכלכל האחד המדחיף אשר אין כמוהו. So the ascetic said to the star worshipper, how much are you in a state of ultimate blindness and lack of understanding in your service of the stars? He tells him, he sees him, and he gets into a conversation with this idol worshiper. And he tells him two things. First of all, you're blind. You're completely blind. You don't realize that there's a creator. You're completely blind. And he says, not only that, you lack understanding in the service of stars. In Torah, we do believe in the stars. When we say Mazal Tov, it talks about the energies of the stars, that our good luck or good mazal comes from the stars. So we do believe in the stars.
Yeah.
But the difference is we know who's the creator. Just like someone who says, oh, I love this paintbrush. This is the paintbrush that made this beautiful picture, instead of realizing that no, there was a painter who was holding the paintbrush and who painted it. So he tells him, you're so blind. You don't see the God, and you don't even know anything about stars. We know about stars because we know that the one who put the stars there, who gave them their powers, is God, is the creator. So the idol worshiper replies to him, and who do you serve?
The stars.
And the ascetic replied, I serve the creator, who is able to do anything, who sustains, who is one, who provides food for each person according to his needs, and there is no one like him. He replies to him with 4 answers. He said, first of all, I serve the creator. He's a creator. He's the one who created everything.
Ça, c'est l'idolâtre qui dit ça?
Non, il a dit l'idolâtre. He said, who do you serve?
Okay.
So he said, I serve a creator who is only one, who's able to do anything. Okay, so one creator who's able to do anything, who sustains, who provides everything, and there is no one like him. He answers him with 4 different statements that show that it surpasses what idol worship does, and also it shows how much his bitachon is, that he believes that he's able to do anything. He believes that he sustains everyone. He believes that he provides food for each and every person, and he believes that no one else, remember these 4 things, no one else can bring. What does he answer him, the pagan? Amar lo ha'am gushi, pa'alecha soter et devarecha. Amar lo ha'parush ve'he'ach. Amar lo ilu hayama she'amart emet, hayama tchipecha be'ircha kemo שהתחיפיך הנה, ולא היית טורח לבוא אל ארץ רחוקה כזאת. So the idol worshipper said, your actions contradict your words.
You shouldn't have to come so
How
far.
so? Asked the ascetic. The idol worshipper replied, if what you said were to be true, then God would provide for you in your city, just as he provided for you until now, and you would not need to bother yourself to come to this faraway land. ונפסקה טענת הפרוש ושב לארצו וקיבל הפרישות מן העת ההיא ולא יצא מעירו אחר כך. With this, the argument of the ascetic was shut down. He didn't even reply to him. He returned to his land, accepted upon himself to be an ascetic from that time on, and never left his city again.
Parce qu'en idolâtre, il lui a dit ça?
Yes, he taught him a big lesson.
Ouais, mais
So
pourquoi il se fie à la parole d'un
what is this story? What is this story? We have to know that there's an argument over here, because the Gemara, we know, says that if a person does not find subsistence in one city, he has to travel to another city. This travel can be for many reasons, and over here they bring in a few reasons. He brings in one, the person does not merit to find his livelihood in his hometown and must travel to provide for himself because of his sins, because exiles brings forgiveness. So many times people had to travel because in their city they did not merit to find in their city, and they needed to exile, right? To travel to have that feeling of not being home in order to find sustenance. So sometimes in order to fix their sins, to atone for their sins, they needed to travel. Another thing, God causes a person to travel so that he not be around the evil people in his town. Sometimes Hashem makes a person travel so that he's not around people that are evil within his town. And another thing is the need to travel might simply be a test from God to see if his belief is not wavering despite the hardships. Rabbi Edman points out that many of the Jewish sages and even the forefathers had to travel for their survival.
Sure.
The Baal Shem Tov, someone wants to join. Nice. Okay, let's admit. Hi, Dana. Welcome. So, how can the Rabbeinu Bachai say that traveling is not a good thing? That someone who has to travel is not a good thing?
Yep.
If we know that the Gemara tells us that sometimes we have to travel in order to find sustenance. And sometimes Hashem will make you travel because it's better for you, or there's hashgacha pratis, you have to be there. The Baal Shem Tov teaches us that divine providence leads a person to a certain place. Do you know that if you are in a certain place at a certain time,
It's not because of
it's
you.
not for no reason. There's always a reason, and you're supposed to be there and elevate that place. There's a story of Chassid who was traveling once, and he came to his Rebbe, and his Rebbe asked him, he said, tell me every detail of your trip. And he's like, there's not much detail. I traveled, I came, he said, tell me every detail. So he's trying to remember. He said, yeah, before coming, I stopped. There was a river. I stopped there to drink. I was thirsty, and I drank some water. He said, you said the bracha? He said, of course. He said, do you know that river, since creation of the world, was waiting for you to stop there and say a bracha and elevate it? So, very powerful that every time we travel, every time we go somewhere, we get lost, we happen to stop somewhere,
reason.
our flight is delayed and we end up somewhere else. There is always a reason. Hashem has a plan for us, and sometimes he makes us travel to certain places because we have to be there, and only us we can be there. So what is Rabbeinu Bachai telling us? That traveling is a bad place, is a bad thing, that it lacks bitachon. So he brings in this story to explain to us exactly what he means. He's talking about a prishut, someone who's super careful with halacha. That if he's so careful with halacha, he will not try to look for a different path, a different way, and say, you know what, business is not working here. Let's try what they're trying there. They're meaning the people who serve avodah zarah, the people what happened when he changed cities? He met someone who served avodah zarah, who he believed that his sustenance came from somewhere else. So what happened is that this story was to explain to us that it's not just traveling, it's when you want to travel and try other ways. Wait, this way is not working, let me try other ways, the ways of people who worship idols, or the ways of people who live in different places and have different ways that they provide for themselves. It's when you don't believe, or you don't have bitachon, that the way that Hashem, the way of that Hashem will provide is just by believing that he will provide for you all your needs. And it's tough, because I was thinking as I was learning this, sometimes we don't feel like we have all our needs. Sometimes people lack. But maybe it's because they, I'm thinking of certain times in my life where I was struggling financially, and I'm thinking now, maybe I didn't have the bitachon that I have today. Maybe that was what I had to go through, was in order for me to realize I didn't always have bitachon. I didn't always have bitachon. You kidding me? You're not born with bitachon. I didn't always have bitachon. And I'm thinking back then, for sure not. I was like, maybe we should do this, trying all. But all I had to do is believe that God will provide me, and is providing me, and will always provide for me whatever I need. And I don't need to look out elsewhere. I don't need to travel.
But you travel long distance, you cross the bridge.
No, but again, this is not the same thing. So we're trying to understand exactly what the Rabbeinu, we don't need to travel to a different kind of way of thought, to a different kind of wanting to have our sustenance, to a way of worship. Of people worship different things, and they hope.
He's talking about distances and not going to see elsewhere.
Exactly, see elsewhere, but
So
it's also
already elsewhere. He said long
no,
distances.
because people sometimes have to travel elsewhere. Right in their city, they're surrounded by Torah scholars and by whatever it is, and they'll travel elsewhere physically, but also spiritually elsewhere, where they serve idols and they do other things. And this is how the story was brought. When he traveled, who's the first person he met? He met an idol worshiper, and that's why he didn't respond to him, because he realized that I don't need to respond to him. That was my message. Go back home, stay in my place, be more careful with halacha, and I don't need to travel and look elsewhere for my sustenance. Because when he was looking elsewhere without realizing, he was looking at a different way of people.
But if we bring it for today, nowadays, let's say, we don't need to...
So this is what I think applicable nowadays. Sometimes, instead of working on your bitachon, and this is what I did many times, and again, there's nothing wrong with taking knowledge from elsewhere, but I put all my belief that if I try this theory of working, and if I read this book, and if I follow this person, and then I'm gonna fix my financial sustenance.
But
Or
they're
if
here for a reason. Maybe God sent them to
yes, they're here for a reason.
Yeah.
But you have to switch. It's all in the head. You have to switch and say, no, Hashem is gonna provide for me. I can read, I can get information, I can get skills from them.
Voilà.
But in the end, it's just a keli, it's just a vessel, and it's Hashem who's going to provide me. So it's all about it. So it does. It does. It's traveling out of your ways into another way of thinking.
So this is not okay.
No, that is not okay.
Even if it's a rabbi, for me, a rabbi is not my thinking. So for me, the way it's
no, but
develop,
that's not traveling.
Really?
That's the Torah way is not
about
traveling out of your way of thinking.
It's coming back.
The Torah way is coming back to your place.
To your good place.
And it on purpose it said parouche. It said a person who is careful. On purpose it said a person who is careful with
everything.
Torah and mitzvot, who's very careful with halacha.
So he's talking about this.
No, but it's to explain. Yes, for sure. But again, it's applicable to all of us. It's if we have to travel elsewhere and try to find sources from other places. This is a lack of bitachon. All our secrets are in the Torah.
Unless it's coming from Torah, like we.
No, all our secrets are not unless. Everything, everything comes from Torah, but you're confusing. This is not the same thing. What you're talking about. We're talking of someone who started off careful with all halacha, and he had to leave. Yes, but the moral is not for you not to travel. First of all, traveling is a very good thing. The Baal Shem Tov would travel all the time with his Hasidim.
So
there's a famous picture of the Hasidim. He said, if a person needs to travel for business, needs to leave his way of thinking and go and try to follow a different way of thinking, and he travels for that. He leaves his city where he was doing well and studying well and connected well, and he leaves his city in order to find a different path. And what's the path? The idol worship path, the path that's not Torah related. Then that is dangerous, and that will weaken him, and that will not strengthen his bitachon. Do you understand? So how do I apply that to myself? Is if you have to go and travel and look and work hard and look and try to find a different way of you providing, instead of believing that everything comes from Hashem, and in your place, in your surroundings, you will find what you need to be sustained, then you won't have lack in bitachon.
J'ai toujours en tête un truc que mon père m'a toujours appris, mais chotem makom chotem mazal, qui change d'endroit.
No, meshane makom meshane mazal. So again, this is why it says, let me read it inside. The argument of the aesthetic was shut down. Rabbi Yaakov Emden argues that there are valid reasons that can cause a person an ability to find a livelihood in his place of dwelling, requiring him to travel. Rabbi Ebden writes that this was in fact his own situation, and that it was not due to a lack of trust in God. Rather, it was the will of God that he can travel to earn his livelihood. So yes, many times we have to travel in order to change livelihood. But when you're traveling is because you lack in your trust of God and you're looking elsewhere, that's when it's okay. But if you're traveling and you still believe that everything comes from Hashem, but you know that right now you can't find in your place, or you can't find in this area, and you need to travel, then that's fine. But here, why did they bring that the first person he met was the idol worshippers? Because deep down this person was really not believing that his work was what was helping him, and he was looking somewhere else. And then when the idol worshipper told him, wait, who do you serve? And he said, well, I serve one God who provides for me everything, and who's the only creator, and who's no one, and there's no one like him. He said, wait, that's weird. You came here, you told me you were looking for work. You were looking for a different way of, but your words don't match your actions. If you really believed that he's the one who provides for you, then go back to your city. You don't need to come here. And it was a message for him, like, you were looking elsewhere. You weren't looking in the right
Or
place.
you came with the bad intention.
You came with the bad intention,
Because
exactly.
you're allowed to come, but like c'est comme si il y a des femmes ils vont changer d'endroit pour trouver un autre mazal par exemple.
Yes, so
Carrément.
that is for
That
sure.
is okay, but they need to keep in mind that God's want them to.
Exactly. Exactly. You got it. So Rabbi Emden concludes with a simple question. If indeed God orchestrates that a person needs to travel for business, why did this ascetic not know what to respond to the idol worshiper? Right? He should have said, well, Mishane Makom, Mishane Mazal.
Exactly.
His answer. The reason why the ascetic returned home was his realization that traveling caused him to be near bad people. He came with the bad intention. Like this idol worshiper, the ascetic did not even respond to the idol worshiper because he did not want to waste his time on dialogue with an idolater. So he realized that no, he wasn't coming for Mishane Makom, Mishane Mazal. He came with, there was a lack of something, and the first thing he met was an idol worshiper, and he realized, no, I
go back to my place.
I go back to my place. Wherever you live, you have a divine mission. Spread the light of God. So that also, we need a balance in life. We need to know that wherever we end up in life, and I have to remind myself that many times, especially that my family moved out, and before I had reasons why I'm here, but today I have to realize that if I ended up here, I have a mission.
Yeah.
And it's you, Dorit, and it's you, Marie, and it's you, Cheryl and Donna. Wherever you are, you have a mission, and it's to spread light. And
Chérie, elle va aller spread light à Terre-Neuve et Labrador là-bas.
And eventually in
Sterna, it's funny that you say that because when
yes, I'm listening.
when I was telling you on your birthday that that you spread light and that that people are attracted to you because you're like a light, you seemed a little bit surprised, but it's exactly what you're saying now. I think it's easier when it's easier for other people to see things sometimes about ourselves than for us to see it about ourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. But it's everyone. It's not only my mission. Everyone in their surrounding. You don't need to travel in order to find your mission. Sometimes you do. Honestly, sometimes you do. And if you end up traveling, it's because Hashem wanted you to travel. And sometimes you need to move and you need to change place. But I'm thinking my family who had to pick up and leave and move. They're meant to be where they're meant to be. Like everyone has to, But if you're in your place, try to find the reason why you're in your place and don't try to look elsewhere.
Even if it's their choice that they had to move.
So this is something I had. So
vois?
that's what I had a conversation with someone once, and they're like, who was traveling a lot and then ended up in one place and stopped, and we were arguing that it wasn't her choice, and she was like, of course it's my choice. I decided when to travel and I decided when to stop, and I told her, but what? Why suddenly this place you decided to stop and live?
She met someone maybe or
No, she doesn't know. But it's all divine providence. It says that nothing is in our control. Nothing is our choice. The person we end up with, the place we live, the money we make, nothing is our choice. What's the only thing where we have choice, freedom of choice, is yirat shamayim, is fear of heaven. If we decide to do something for God with the right intentions, then that's our free choice. But all the rest, why we choose something, we think we chose. I thought I chose this place also in the beginning, but then after a while I'm like, I couldn't have chosen this place because I didn't know my future here. I didn't know the people I would meet. I didn't know anything. So you don't really make a choice. Do you understand? It's destiny. You thought you chose Real, but really Hashem wanted you in Quebec. You thought you chose
doing Shaar Habitachon.
Exactly. Everything was orchestrated by God. And so too is when we look for livelihood, bitachon, we have to trust that our place will provide for us everything we need. Everything we need. And our job is just to be who we are and to spread the light around us.
But also put actions, right? Parce que without actions, like, it don't bring.
For sure. With our job is spread light. What is spread light?
C'est ça.
It's through actions. But at the same time, we have to know that the Baal Shem Tov teaches that divine providence leads a person to a certain place. He says, and you will go to that place that Hashem, your God, will choose to make his name dwell there. You must know that you go from one place to another because God has chosen his path so that his name will dwell there. God orchestrates that you end up in a specific place in order to spread the light of God in that very place. So at the same time, there is, again, in Torah, there's never in a way like one set thing. So at the same time, we have to know that we should be set in our ways and happy to live where we are and not look elsewhere and believe that our livelihood will come from this place. At the same time, we have to know that no, sometimes God will send us to travel somewhere and move somewhere or change, and that we're meant to be there in that place in that specific moment. So it's to live with that what is it called when two things oppose each other? With that I forgot the word. Dana, do you know? Or Marie? With that there's
antagonisme en français.
I have the words
Mais en
on
gros,
that.
on est des représentants commerciaux de Dieu.
On est quoi?
Représentants commerciaux de Dieu.
Exactly.
Là où tu vas,
We
tu
are.
dois faire
That's what I said this Shabbat. We really are. This is what the Jewish people, Dorit said we're the promotional
commercial.
commercial
En français, représentant commercial.
commercial representative of God, but that's really what we are. And everyone does it in their way. You don't have, there's not one specific way of doing it. You, by being Dorit, you're doing it in your
Mais
way.
après, il y a aussi Chilul Hashem, tu as dit. Hein?
Chilul Hashem is, yeah.
Chilul, c'est ça.
Chilul. Yeah. So, to conclude, is I want you guys all to think of your surroundings, your place you are today, and try to find one good reason why you're here. And not only find one reason why you're here, but try to even have a positive impact in your surrounding, whether it's in your workplace, within your neighbors, whatever it is in where you find yourself, or if you're traveling, right? Donna, you'd be traveling. So try to find one reason why you went to travel in that certain place and who you're supposed to meet and what positive impact you're supposed to have. And please share back. I would love to hear what I don't know, what divine providence you found in your travels or in your places that you didn't travel.